Welcome back to the Rounding Third podcast. This is season 3, episode 5. Today we've got our guest Nadia Barbary joining Brian and I here on the show. Nadia, you're somebody that's been, it seems like, a part of this program for about 10 years now.
Yes, long time, committed in 8th grade and finally got to be here working on year 3 now.
Working on year 3. You're currently leading the team in terms of starts.
Wow.
So locking down the left side of the infield. You played a little bit everywhere first year. You and Maddie kind of platooned some at short. Then you went to third, kind of been at third really ever since. Ever since that. So the pride of Chapel Hill, Georgia. Chapel Hill High School. So
Yes.
your dad may or may not come up on the show once or twice in this one. I guess the question that viewers back home want to know is he going to be here this weekend?
He will be here this weekend. He was not going to miss SEC opening weekend at all.
Love that. We were texting back and forth, your dad and I, and we're like, we've been teasing Nadia about who the favorite child is. And all of a sudden, your brother gets to college, and he's playing college baseball. And now you look back there, and the signature seat where your parents sit, there's always a maroon fedora, but it's been vacant these last several home games, and it's just not the same without seeing your dad back there behind home plate.
No, it is not. Yeah, they've been hanging out with my brother the past couple weeks, so now they'll be here for all of our SEC series.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
They often don't miss very many games, so
They
it has
do
been a
not.
bit of a change. But,
Yes.
you always see the Barbarys when you walk in the ballpark. They're like the first people you see because they sit on the front row and they sit right there by the gate coming in from the front gate, and
Yes.
you cannot miss them.
Especially with that fedora.
Yep. And I always like the post-game messages. Your dad will usually text me or Coach Ricketts or both of us, and it could be anything from a meme that he created, or it could just be, some words of encouragement, So it's always fun chatting with him. And the reason why you're on the show, really, we've got a couple of highlights we'll get to later on in this segment, but you had a pretty good week. Hit 500 for the week, 1994 OPS.
Is that good?
It seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. Anything over 1,000 OPS is pretty good. And here you are rolling at almost a 2,000 clip. So I think you mentioned one of your post-game interviews with the media that it seemed like you were seeing beach balls this weekend. Is that kind of talk us a little bit to what that means for you there?
Yes, we did a lot of plan practicing leading up to those games and just trusting that plan and getting all the reps before the game and right before in BP and just using that when you're in the game and just focusing on the ball and like tuning out everything else around you helped me see beach balls this past weekend. Hopefully continue on through the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, you left the yard 4 times this past week. That was kind of the theme of the weekend. And really, if you go back to the UAB game as well, the theme of the week, just at the Bulldog Invitational, which we could also just name the Bulldog Home Run Derby, 17 home runs as a team, had 14 as a team coming into the tournament. So you were joking earlier, T-Brad, about just we're a power hitting team now.
Yep.
Maybe in some ways that we didn't always expect, but the ball was really flying this weekend.
The ball was flying, and we had some favorable conditions too. We hit some balls really well down in Clearwater, Florida, to open a weekend. Obviously, a really stout field we played against, open a weekend there. But we were kind of unlucky on a few of the fields in that tournament. Of course, there's 8 fields, and they're kind of all really 360. They're kind of all around. So some fields the wind might be blowing out, others the wind might be blowing in. We kind of got handcuffed some on a few balls that should have left the yard. The wind kind of kept them in. We saw that again on Sunday. Some balls that were really well hit that just didn't get the result we were looking for with that. But the rest of the games this weekend, we got some balls up in the wind, up in the jet stream. Really, it was kind of carrying from left center to right. And I thought our hitters did a tremendous job of creating the angle, getting the backspin on the balls that we wanted, and really driving it to that side of the field. And you saw that with several multi-homer games, several back-to-back games. You and Keith Sales have now had 3 back-to-backs. I don't want to quote my friend John Sterling with the New York Yankees too much, but he would call that belly to belly, the old back-to-back, a little belly to belly for those Yankee fans that used to listen to him back home. But anyway, it's always nice, particularly in the third base box. There's not a whole lot of signs you have to give if you're getting the long ball to go. So we certainly like that. We like the round trippers. We like the 17 that we had this past weekend alone. And it's good to see that a lot of the workouts with Marcy and really the attention to detail with the strength staff and Sean and his crew. Good to see some of that stuff really starting to pay off.
I think there were 2 home runs that really stood out to me. First, Key Sells hit a ball off her nose on the video board.
Yep.
I mean, just absolutely hammered that ball. And then Sierra Sacco in the nightcap, I believe it was the New Mexico game, just sent a ball, farthest ball that we've tracked in News Park this season at 290 feet, and it was one that everybody knew the minute that she hit it. She did her best Fale Lua impression over there with the bat flip, which led to a little bit of fun in the post-game interview. Kylie and Sierra had a little back and forth about maybe some stealing of home run celebrations. You're in the dugout. You have your own kind of trademark home run celebration. What are those conversations like, and kind of how everybody decides what their thing is going to be?
Well, Sierra loves to pick fun at Kylie because Kylie does the gritty that Sierra started doing first, and so she kind of gave Kylie a hard time with it, and so Kylie joked the next time she hit a home run, she went to hit the gritty and then stopped and pointed at Sierra to poke fun at her. But just our way of expressing our excitement. Everybody has their own signature thing, and sometimes we share them, sometimes we don't, but just to keep the energy up in the dugout.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like one of those things too. Everybody knows each other's little celebration or superstition. Sometimes some of them the fans maybe don't notice or see. You have one that I bugged you about at production day that I always want to ask you about. If you ever watch Nadia really closely at the beginning and the end of an inning, she does not miss stepping on third base. She does not miss. She can come charging in on a bunt for the last out of the inning and be halfway into the first base dugout. She's going to run all the way back and step on third base before she goes in the dugout. What is the reasoning behind that? When did that start?
It really started. It might have started when I started playing baseball, but it was kind of just like that first step onto the field in between those white lines and just signifying like, okay, this is the time to lock in and do what I need to do. And so that's going on the field, and then off the field, it's like closing that inning for me, whether it was good or bad, but just signifying that that was the end of that inning, and the next inning we restart the process.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about kind of the bounce back mentality, and Ricketts talks all the time about not letting something that maybe takes place in the defensive half of the inning affect and carry over into your at-bats. And so to close the book on the inning, kind of just a physical way to kind of play that out.
Yes.
So, yeah, let's go back through the weekend, T-Bright. We mentioned the home runs. UAB is when it kind of all started, 11-1 win. At the time, a season-high 4 home runs. We mentioned the back-to-back there. Mo B also with her 6th multi-hit game. She had a double and a homer. At the time, that led the team. And then Raylan had another complete game. And just kind of walk us back through that midweek. What stood out to you? How do you think that kind of springboarded us into the weekend?
Yeah, I certainly think it set us up for success. UAB, we mentioned that on the show last week. Well-coached team. Taylor Smart's doing a fantastic job in her first year at the helm. We'll play them again later this year on our way to Chicago. We're going to play Northwestern in our bye weekend. So we'll get another chance with the UAB Blazers here in just a couple of weeks. But certainly swung the bat well. We came off of a really explosive offensive comeback on Sunday leading up to that with the Miami, Ohio game, a regional team from a year ago. A team themselves that's no strangers to the long ball. I think they had 160 last year. They led the nation in the regular season in home runs. So was able to come back and kind of really get the long ball going that game. Sosa, Mobeezy just missed one. We talked about her a second ago. Key hit one with about a 40-degree launch angle. Hooked it inside the left field foul pole at the Trash Panda Stadium. So that kind of really springboarded us. And, yeah, you're right. We hit 4 more in the midweek against UAB. So certainly good to see the bats come alive. We kind of rolled that trend into the weekend with 17 home runs. We just had 14 coming in. So we already matched in a span of 4 or 5 games, more than matched our season, a total, I guess, so far with that. So it puts us up to 31. I think going into Sunday's game, we were tied for 2nd or 3rd in the SEC in home runs. I think your notes had us 13th nationally or something like that going into that game too. So certainly good to see that. And one thing you're seeing too with this lineup, in the past, sure, Mia has hit a bunch. Fa has hit a bunch.
Maddie has hit a bunch.
Maddie has hit a bunch. Even Kat Moore, who gets overshadowed a lot with the Thunder and Lightning of Mia and Fa, but Kat Moore hit a bunch. You know, so you really saw home run numbers with half of which being like 2 or 3 hitters. This year, I think you're seeing a pretty balanced approach up and down the lineup. Almost every one of our starters has a home run already this season. And we've had a lot of extra base hits. You mentioned the slugging percentage being up, on pace right now to be the highest slugging percentage in school history. We'll hope to keep that going as we enter SEC play. But you're really just seeing a lot of the hard work paying off this offseason. We really did some things offensively last year that we were proud of, especially welcoming in our new building a year ago. We talked about that a lot last year on the show. But good to kind of have the resources we've got. Alyssa Los, our director of player development, has done a tremendous job in an integral part with that stuff too. Coach Ricketts, Coach Shaw, the rest of the offensive staff, just doing a great job kind of getting our hitters dialed in, ready to go. But it's good to see the ball leaving the yard. Hope to keep that going again this weekend. We got a good matchup tonight with ULL. Wind's blowing again. Hopefully it's blowing out when we're hitting and in where they're hitting. They're a good team. They hosted a regional a year ago. So it's been good to see that, and hopefully we'll keep that going again as the week goes on.
Yeah, you mentioned the up and down the lineup. I'm counting here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that have 4 or more home runs so far this year. So really has been kind of a full lineup effort. And then we got into that Alabama State game, and Alabama State batted around twice in that game, in the 3rd inning and the 4th inning. Won that game 17-2. Go back to back again. We mentioned that you've already done it 3 times. You did it 3 times just this week. So, Mia and Fa may have done it 4 times in 2021, but that was over the whole season.
Yep.
You guys have done that 3 times this week. So that was kind of also the start. We mentioned up and down the lineup, Kylie Edwards, who hit the first home run for the team back in Clearwater, had kind of gone quiet on the home run front, broke out starting in that Alabama State game, and over the next 2 days hit 4 home runs in 4 straight games. So really, again, kind of everybody getting involved. There was one play that we had to talk about in that game, though, and that was Abby Grace Richardson came in. It had a pinch hit triple that turned into a lap around the bases.
Yep.
Walk us through that play from the third base angle, because you've talked before about right field in News Park gets to be a little tricky, and you have a great view of it and can kind of read the whole play.
Yeah, definitely. It can be tricky. There's a lot of elements, especially in an afternoon game as the sun's starting to set. And this game, it was a clear sky, so we had a bright sun and it makes it tough for right fielders anyway. And then you add the element of the reflection off of the roof of Rula, the indoor tennis facility next door to us. So you kind of have a two-headed monster with not only the sun, but also then the glare coming off of that slant of that building behind us. So anything off the bat to right, we tell our hitters all the time, you're taking nothing for granted. You're your best time every time out of the box. And AG, tip of the cap to her. She's been practicing hard really all year. She was one of the ones that went really hard in practice last Thursday leading up to the weekend. And she had a similar type play in one of our 3-team scrimmages where she lapped the bases and went headfirst into the plate. And you kind of saw it coming through again live and in a game. And once she got it up in the right field, the ball was kind of carrying, so it took the right fielder back toward the fence, and I thought there might be trouble at the fence, and sure enough it was. It kind of hit off the bottom there and passed her a little bit. So AG, just a tremendous athlete, really, really good speed. Obviously an All-American in junior college last year at Copiah Lincoln Community College, which, by the way, won a national championship. So she had a pretty good season there as well. But just came in. She hit some balls hard last weekend in Huntsville. So it's good to see one of hers finally drop in for us. That was her first career hit. And a triple wasn't enough. We went ahead and just went on in center. One thing about third, you're able to kind of see a play like that. It's all developing in front of you as you're looking at the runner. So anything, I tell them all the time, anything from right center behind, I'm going to help you out, bring you to 3 and that sort of thing. But she knew she was going to have 3 wrapped up, and I'm kind of watching the throw develop, and I'm thinking if there's anything offline at all, I'm just going to point. And that's kind of what happened. It was offline just a little bit. It didn't take much. A quick send to AG, and she scored easily going into home there.
It almost looked like as the outfielder made the throw, she may have even had another run-in with the wall, and it kind of clipped the wall with her hand that kind of led to that ball getting offline. Like you said, you had a perfect view of it the whole way, so an easy send. Getting into the Saturday game, New Mexico, again, the home runs keep coming. Kylie, Sierra, Keysels, Raylan does her thing again, 5 scoreless innings. What has she brought to this team so far?
She's brought a lot of fire. Her energy is amazing, and she trusts herself in our defense, and we work well behind her. Sierra had the amazing play in the outfield this past weekend. SportsCenter top 10, number 1 in my opinion, but she's brought a lot of fire. She's that consistent pitcher that we've had. Along with our other ones, and every time she gets the ball in her hand, she's dominating.
She is. She's had a very good start. She's currently averaging 9.2 strikeouts per 7 innings. If that were to hold, it would be the second best we've ever had in school history, and Annie Willis currently has that record at 10-something. So has really come in early and made a mark. I think she had something at 9 wins in her first 10 appearances, so has really kind of come in and, like you said, set the tone and competed really well. As we keep moving along with the weekend, so we already talked, Nadia, a little bit about kind of seeing beach balls and the approach that you've brought to the plate. But Key also talked post game, just after y'all went back to back again, about the exchange at the home plate as you come in, scoring your run, you're going back to the dugout, and the sharing of information. Kind of walk us through what that has looked like and how you have been able to help her and the hitters behind her from what you've seen in your first at-bats.
Yes, every player is different. Key likes it short and simple, see ball, hit ball, or what side of the plate the pitcher's going to most of the time. And then Lexi behind her, she likes a little bit more detail. So it just goes with knowing your teammates and knowing what helps them best and talking about that all throughout the fall. So it's prepared us for now when we're in games and we're seeing good pitching and good competition to be able to help each other. That way we're making adjustments at bat to at bat instead of 2-3 innings down the road.
Okay. T-Brad, I want to turn to something that I know you take a lot of pride in. Your trademark saying of "we don't move."
Yep.
So and the team loves their chant of "we love free bases." So let's talk about some free bases. Key Sells is 8th in the country with 7 hit by pitches, and if we look back at her career, it's just been a theme for her. That poor girl gets hit all the time.
Even in practice, she gets hit in practice.
She gets hit all the time. But when you add in Key's hit by pitches and the team's hit by pitches, 98 walks and hit by pitches, just 53 strikeouts. A little more context, have 162 hits. So more, you've got 162 hits. Half of that would be 81, but you're posting 98 walks and hit by pitches. So what has been kind of the coaching point or the mentality there to just find a way on?
Yeah, I think when you look at that ratio, you're almost 2-to-1 in walks or HBPs per strikeouts. So offensively as a unit, that's kind of setting us up for success. We talk a lot ad nauseum sometimes about the big innings. We do film work before every game. After the game, the night before, we'll chop the film and then go over the next day before the next day's game. And those are things we highlight. We highlight players that have a mental toughness to be able to stand in and take a 72 miles an hour off the Evo shield or off the elbow or off the back or whatever. It takes another type of dog. And we talk about being a dog, right? It takes another type of dog to be able to stand in there and let the pitcher know that they don't own you, that they don't own that piece of real estate right there. You own that real estate. And if we can get them to where there's a little bit of a fear in their mind where, man, if I miss my spot to the inside and I hit them, I've just put them on first base. Oh, and by the way, they're also 25 and 28 stolen bases, so it might as well be a double. You get the right combination up there to get to 2. So it creates opportunities where pitchers don't necessarily want to miss too much inside, and what happens is some of those balls might leak over to the inside part of the plate. And when you've got people with fast hands like Key Sells, she hit a ball out against UAB the other day that was almost on the chalk. Up and in, or actually was down and in on the chalk. You know, she kept the swing really tight. It went inside of a phone booth, if you will, and put it out to left field. And you're like, how do you hit that pitch? And then conversely, as a pitcher, you kind of tip your cap because you threw it to the spot you wanted to, and the kid still hit it out of the yard. So I think just having that mindset of a we don't move approach. We want to be tough. We want to be gritty. We want to show that when we have those opportunities and, you know, holding our ground. We're not looking to get hit. There's been years in the past where we've had a lot of HBPs. I think there's other teams in the SEC that have a lot more than us. But the walks have been, to me, a big factor in a lot of our explosive innings. You look at the 98 combined walks with the HBPs, and anytime you can be well over the 1-to-1 ratio in that, and we're almost 2-to-1 in that standpoint per strikeout, it gives us a chance to keep moving the lineup forward. And you mentioned the 2 batting around innings in the 3rd and the 4th inning against Alabama State. You're doing that with folks that are not taking selfish swings. They're not expanding outside the zone. They're doing a great job understanding what the umpire's calling. And it's really been our MO all year. Outside of a Jacksonville State game and a Nadia Kennedy game, you know, there hasn't been a whole lot of teams that have come in and really struck us out a lot. So we got to make sure we keep that mindset going and do a good job of the strike zone moving forward.
Yeah, you mentioned the Alabama State game. 4th inning, 5 walks in that inning. So you send 11 batters to the plate, 5 of them take a free pass. That's an ingredient to a big inning, right?
And it helps with Sierra Sacco. We talked about her a little bit earlier. She does a great job at the onset, leading the game off. And, you know, a lot of times they don't want to walk her because of who's behind her, and Nadia's behind her. So when you got somebody that's protecting the leadoff batter, it's going to make them want to attack her more. And you look at you last year, you led the SEC in doubles just in conference games alone. So it's making teams have to face and throw to Sacco more, which I think is leading to a lot more of her home run production too. So you definitely want to have somebody that's going to be able to back her up. And then, now she's all, okay, well, watch this. Here comes a double, and now it's a quick 1-0 lead.
And that's a great time to transition over to Sierra. So she finally hit 200 career at-bats at Mississippi State, which means she gets to start counting towards the career record books and things. her batting average at MSU would be 5th. Her slugging percentage would be 6th. Her on-base percentage would be 2nd. Her OPS would be 5th. And we've talked about it before on this show and with her when she was here. Like, originally, she was not one that you really would have thought would come to mind with slugging percentage.
Right.
On-base percentage, yes, she's phenomenal at getting on base. We've seen that. We've witnessed that. She's reached base in all but one game this year, has a 19-game reached base streak. But she's being able to do it both ways, like you said. And because she's been able to take so many walks, pitchers are being forced to throw to her, and that's giving her the opportunity to swing. So also wanted to get into at home. So the numbers at home have been impressive, and they were impressive before this weekend, but they obviously just got better with this weekend. So the batting average, 102 points higher at home. The slugging percentage, 322 points higher at home. And then 73% of our RBIs have been driven in at home. And that was a number that even stood out 2 weeks ago before we played these 5 games, because we had played more games at neutral sites than at home, and we still had something close to 60% of our RBIs coming at home. So as a hitter, is there something about News Park that you see the ball better? You just feel more comfortable? What is it that you think is leading to kind of such a drastic split?
I think a big part is the fans and just having them and their excitement and their energy, but also that home advantage is always nice. We know how the wind blows, how the sun is, how the sun glares, and just trusting that and knowing that, okay, this is our home field and we need to stand up for it and be proud of what we have here and just put that to the test.
Yeah, and so as we kind of start to look towards the week ahead, have a midweek tonight, have 3-game series to open SEC play here, and Monday is going to be Military Appreciation Night. And so you were born on an Air Force base.
Yes.
Family has some deep ties to the military. Can you just tell us a little bit about your family's background and kind of what Monday night's going to mean to them?
Yes, my dad's mom and dad were military. My mom is also military. My aunts, my uncles, big military family, and just always an honor for them to be appreciated on Military Day or night this Monday. But just they've instilled a lot of those core values that they've learned into me and my brother, and our goal is to continue to spread that on through the kids that we give lessons to when we're back at home, and just spreading that because it's a great message to have. And Jesse's dad will also be there, and it'll just be a good time to honor those that have given and fought for our country.
And I know we talked a little bit, and you were joking with your dad earlier, potentially some ceremonial first pitches to kind of recognize the Blaines and the Barbarys. What have been your notes for your dad on these first pitches?
Well, his first comment was, "I can't throw it overhand, right?" I said, "No, this is
against the
softball.
rules.
It's against the rules, right?" And so he thought about being funny and doing a weird wind up or accidentally throwing it behind him, just being funny. But he was like, "Oh, who am I going to throw the first pitch to?" And I was like, "Well, probably me." And he was like, "Oh, okay." So I was like, "Okay, well, maybe you won't throw it then." But he's looking forward to it, and just he loves being a part of the softball program here, and he has a great relationship with all the players and all the coaches, and just it means a lot to him to be involved with all of that.
We mentioned from the very start, T-Brat mentioned just how much time you've spent in this program, and now the active leader on the team in terms of career starts while at MSU. What has that experience allowed you to do in terms of stepping into more of a leadership role this year?
Yes, it means a lot, just one, to be viewed as one of the girls, to be a leader on the team, and my teammates supporting that, but also being able to share that experience with the freshmen and the transfers and even the people that have been here the same amount of time as I've been, and just helping grow our program and giving back to our program and giving back to the younger girls, and just all of that. It's just been a full circle moment that I'm completely grateful for and thankful to the coaches for giving me the opportunity to do that here. And we'll always love to do it.
Well, you're about to have to go up and get back to leading in the weight room.
Yep.
Yes.
And so as we kind of wind this down, Mr. Coach T-Brat, will you take it away with your signature segment?
Yep. This is the Rounding Third podcast. When you're rounding third, you're heading home. Obviously got a big challenge tonight. Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns come to town. Allie's in her first year as a head coach there. We've known her forever in the SEC with all of her years at the University of Alabama. So she's got her team dialed in, playing well right now. So looking for a great opportunity to defend News Park, get back on the saddle. Good thing about softball and baseball is there's a game. You don't have to wait a week like you do in football. You get to get right back and play again just a couple of days later. So excited for the opportunity in town tonight with the Raging Cajuns coming here. Lexi Elkins was one of our assistant coaches years ago, and she was an All-American there at Louisiana. So tremendous fan base. They do a great job. And you mentioned our fan support too, and just want to highlight them. That's been huge for us, especially as we get into SEC play. I think there's something like 680 tickets were sold in the last 48 hours online for the series this weekend. So looking forward to a tremendous opportunity to defend home field tonight with UL, and then of course this weekend the Saturday, Sunday, Monday series with Auburn. First time we've been on the Monday night show at home since 2017. So what a unique opportunity to be the only game in town, the only softball game in the country being played on a Monday night and being televised nationally at that. So really excited about this week ahead. Number one RPI team in the country. The RPI just came out this week, and all of the basketball fans listen to the show. They know what the Quad 1 means, and Auburn's definitely a Quad 1 opponent rolling into town this weekend. We debuted in the top 25 ourselves, so we got a nationally ranked top 25 matchup with Auburn, top 25 RPI showdown with Auburn as well, and looking forward to getting back home and playing these next 4 games before we hit the road again.
Yeah, and again, got to emphasize it enough. There is not a game on Friday. It is a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So adjust the schedules accordingly, but really gives us an opportunity to maybe give some people a chance that don't always get to come to games, another opportunity. It's a Saturday night game. It's a Sunday night game, Monday night game. So kind of give some people the opportunity to maybe, if they have other plans in the weekend, still take care of those and then get out to News Park. And like you mentioned, kind of a local travel tournament in town that has bought up a lot of tickets, expecting a large crowd Saturday night, reaching out to Columbus Air Force Base on Military Appreciation Night to hopefully pack that park again on Monday. So really should be a great atmosphere this weekend. And you've already alluded to the quality of the 2 teams that should be on the field. So no reason not to be at News Park this weekend.
Yep, clear your calendars. Come check us out. Girls are playing well, and certainly excited to see a national broadcast with a big crowd behind home plate at News Park. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and sign off here on the Rounding Third podcast. For Brian Ogden, our special guest, Nadia Barbary, I'm Tyler Bratton. Thanks for tuning in, and Hail State.
Hail
Hail
State.
State.